Hey everyone.
Hello. Hello.
It's great to see you lovely design cutters. Welcome to another community hangout, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my very good friend and very talented letterer, Ian Barnard. Hey Ian.
Hey Tom, good to see you again.
You
It
too.
feels so strange because we were literally just talking about 24 hours ago on the podcast.
Doing the Honest Designers show. Yeah, we literally chatted last night, but I'm thrilled to welcome you back, mate. You've been on this before and everyone loved what you demonstrated. And so there's going to be even more lettering layout, iPad goodness today, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, we were just on the iPad last time. I'm going to go through the whole process within this hour. Trying to cram a lot of value in. So Tom's going to keep track of my timing to we get to a finished piece by the end of it. So yeah, hopefully there'll be lots of value you can take away and put in your own lettering works.
Love it. I know we've got a lot of people with us today. So many people excited to see how to better structure and lay out their lettering. And this is going to be a bit of a masterclass, to be honest. So everyone who tuned in, you picked a good one. This is going to be a lot of fun. While Ian just gets set up, you can see we've got a split screen thing going on. Let us know where you're tuning in from. You can see Karen's there from Georgia. Where is everyone else tuning in from? Because I think we've got hundreds of people from all over the world today for this free live demonstration.
It's great. Yeah, there's loads from everywhere.
Crazy Liquorfree's getting some love.
I know. I stacked the their sticker on it. It was yeah, it's all good.
Holly from Iowa. We've got Trevor from California, Brooklyn, Miami, Denmark, Canada. Crystal said, Georgia, Maidenhead,
all over the world.
Paris. Yeah, you international bunch. That's what I love about our community. Portugal, Germany, Austria, Chicago.
Have we got anyone from Australia or New Zealand? Because I know it's like weird time in the morning or something like that. Where
yeah, that's your true fans, mate.
Yeah,
tuning in at 4 in the morning.
Yeah, they set an alarm for the middle of the night.
Yeah, it's dedication. Given how much you want to pack into today, shall we jump right in?
Yes. So I don't know whether you chuck me off this middle, like.
Don't worry, we're going to focus on what you're doing on the other screen.
Yeah, so I don't know whether you
block that.
Because if you chuck me off, then it'll make the screen bigger. So
don't worry, we're focusing on your hands.
Okay, so we're going to start off with looking at how I go about my sketches. I always start with a notebook, and so the thing we're going to do today, Tom came up with it, is the Design Cuts community rocks. So that's the thing we're going to letter. A lot of this is going to be I've pre-done, so because of time. So the first thing we do is just write out the quote in your normal handwriting. We're not going to worry about it at the moment. This is there's quite a few steps before we actually get into actually designing the letters. The layout comes first. So the first thing we want to do is write out, just in caps, the phrase we're going to be doing. And so the first thing that I do is draw boxes around my letters or around the words. So it gives me an idea in my head how, what shapes I'm working with, because it's easier for your brain to work out those shapes rather than the words first. So that's the first stage I do. So I've got these squares, these rectangles in mind. And then the second thing I do is work out what are primary, what are secondary, and what are filler words. So in the case of this, the filler word will just be the. Other filler words are like and is and the and to and stuff like that. So things that just go in between. They're not really have much prominence. And then
By the way, guys, just before we jump in, obviously this is the nature of a live stream. It's sharpened up a bit. If it goes a little bit fuzzy at points, stick with it. What you can do is you can click on audio/video help down in the bottom left, just below this live stream. Or occasionally it might just be Ian's connection through his phone, in which case, give him a hard time in the comments and he won't mind.
Yeah.
No, it should be absolutely fine. Yeah. No, this looks really great here though, mate. It's sharpened up.
So the is going to go in the filler word, and then for secondary word, I'm probably going to do design cuts. because obviously it's about the community. That's the focus. So design cuts will go here, and then community and rocks goes in the primary. So we just know to give those a little bit more prominence than the secondary. They're both important, but one, when you're doing it, you just have to think what's going to be the main thing that you want people to focus on first, and they're just flicking through it.
Yep.
So once we've done that, it's quite an easy stage. It doesn't take much. It's just sort of going through the motions. That happens on all of the stuff I do when I'm doing a lettering layout. And then I come to doing, sorry, it's getting a bit fuzzy at the moment. Then I come to laying out roughly how I want my layout to look. So the first thing I'll do a quick example over here, is I draw just a line down my page. That's my center line that I can sort of hang my rectangles off. And then I think, okay, my first word is there. It's not very big. I know the shape of it, and I'm going to keep that small at the top. Then I have design cuts, which is a slightly bigger rectangle. And both those words are sort of similar in importance. So they're both, even though they're different shapes, they've both got the same sort of weight. And then we've got community. And the thing is with the word community, it's quite a big word. So there's a level to how big I can make it, because it's 9 letters, I think. And then rocks is going to be quite big down the bottom here. And so that's one layout. I could change my mind, on this one here, I've done it. So I've broken up design cuts into 2 rectangles. The thing is, you just want to keep that sort of symmetry. But I don't feel that sort of works as well as having it stacked. So, but majority, you're just sort of like looking like here. We sort of have you've got sort of like a diamond shape. So rather than it being like a pyramid with it really wide on the bottom going to really narrow, I'm sort of trying to think about that sort of like either diamond or oval shape. Mm-hmm. So next, I go on to sort of tweaking those shapes. And this is where I have Grid Builder in mind, because I've gone through looking at the brushes, and I know which ones I've got available. So I know I can just quickly sketch out, like, I know I have this one that sort of curves around. So I'm going to put that in there, and having one which is sort of, I think it's called widescreen there. I can't remember the exact names, but I know the shapes, and that comes in really handy because I can start to give the piece a bit more pop, if you're going to, a bit more, rather than just being static on top of each other, these sort of bit more interaction with each letter. And I think, maybe I can give that a curve on it as well. And then I start going through, trying out some different ones. So
like in the bow tie going on there on the left one.
Oh yeah, the bow tie, like that one. I have quite a lot of grids that are like my favorites. I use all the time. Uh-huh. So I'm trying a different one where it's curved the other way rather than curve on top. So it's just really, you're just starting rough. That's what we're doing, rough and small. Just going through as many layouts as you can. And once you're happy with that, or once I'm happy with it, I then, I've done another one here, just still tweaking. And then I roughly fill in those spaces with the letters I've got. So, I'm not giving my letters, I might give them a bit of weight here, but my majority of them are just a skeleton of the letters to see how they fit in, where the community is too squashed in or it's fine like that. I then decided on there, I've started to give it like a ribbon-like look, because in the set there's a ribbon one as well. So, and that seems to work quite well. And also something you need to do as well is think about how many letters you've got it. So when you're laying out the letters in the grids, write out the words. I've got design and count the letters. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So you put 6 there, know where the middle of those letters are, and then you can know that I'm going to do, DES that side, IGN the other side. Same with community, it's 9. So I know that the middle is going to, because it's an odd number, but then I've got 2 M's, which are quite wide. I know that I'm going to do COM on one side and then UNITY on the other side. So that just helps your helps you to lay it out quickly. What we're doing is just quickly going through these motions to try and get stuff down to see how it's working. We don't want to spend too much time on it in case it's not working. We don't want to go all the way down that road. So from that, sorry if I'm going too fast.
No, not at all. I was just thinking, when I've had my pathetic attempts at lettering in the past, I've never done it like this historically, and it's always hurt me. I would always start writing the word, and then I'd run out of space, and the letters would get increasingly cramped. As I ran out of space. And I think that's so common. So even before we get into the iPad and grid builder and anything, this analog exercise is amazingly useful just to start thinking about how to prep your letters and your spacing.
Yeah, and like literally my main thing for the first thing is just rough and small. And the thing with a pencil, you can't be distracted with like, the thing is I get quite distracted in Procreate with all the different brushes available, and the fact that I can get notifications and stuff like that, that this really helps me to focus, so that when I'm getting onto Procreate, I can focus about making everything look nice and sparkly when I need it to, rather than rushing straight into perfecting all the letters. So the next stage is just to give my letters a little bit more weight and a bit more style to them, still keeping it quite rough, and like deciding on whether I'm going to give like rocks, I want to give it a bit of a shadow, so I give that a really rough thing to see what that looks like, and a few bits coming over here. Then I also just sort of think, maybe community could be in script, but for me it doesn't seem to work in terms of like the C is quite big and the Y isn't, and it sort of doesn't hang with this sort of symmetry thing for this one. We might do for other ones, and plus with this sort of class, I didn't want it to be too complicated, so we're going to stick to sort of uppercase sans serif mainly look. So once I've got to about this stage, I might do a few more designs as I'm trying to work it out. I'll get the iPad or get my phone and then I will.
There it is.
There it is. What I'll do is get Procreate. What's quite good at Procreate, rather than just going to the camera app, taking a photo, going to the gallery, then you open the gallery, is that once you've set up your document, this document here, I might have to zoom. Can you zoom me out, or do I do that myself?
You might have to actually move the phone, I think, if it's not fitting in. I think it's just one level of zoom. While Ian does that, I have to say we got quite a few chances last year to hang out in person, and I've seen him work exactly like this in person. For example, you remember when we were having breakfast, Ian?
Oh yeah,
and you just sat on your iPad and just whipped up this like magical looking lettering out of nowhere, and it's just it's pretty amazing to see it up close. I definitely could not do that. Okay,
so we set up a document. This one's 3,000 by 4,000 pixels, black. I prefer working in black background with white writing rather than the other way around for some reason. But if you go to the settings tab and click on add, you can then take a photo. So what we're going to do is find...
I didn't know you could do that. Did you discover this recently, or have you been doing it for a while?
No. I think it's been in there for quite a while. And so what I'm going to do is take a photo. I can't really get it in the screen. Take a photo of my design. If I get the right one. There we go. So I've taken a photo, and then at the bottom there, I can click use photo, and that will pop it into the document. And then zoom out a bit. I can then lower the opacity down, so it's just roughly in the background, so I can get my layout looking good. So actually,
it's not just me, Ian. We've got a few design cutters in the comments being like, "I did not know you could do that."
So there we got our rough design. When you zoom it in, it looks really rough. But don't worry. This is why Grid Builder helps, because it helps to like refine all those lines. So the first thing I do is find my pencil. Oh, here it is. I set up a new layer, and I use, because I'm going to be using white, I use my favorite combination of like pink and blue, which I love at the moment, to be the guidelines so that I can differentiate them from what I'm doing. So the first thing I do is just with like the basic monoline calligraphy brush, because I just want a straight line, is to draw a line from top to bottom. And then if I don't take my pen off the thing and then hold my finger on there, it will create a straight line. So I've got my finger on the thing. There you go. And I can create a straight line down my canvas. And that's where I'm going to hang all my grids off, because they've got like a center line in every grid on Grid Builder. So I can hang all those off. So next thing I do is create a new layer and then start from the top down. And the first thing I'm going to do is this sort of banner, what's called banner. And that's going to be at the top here. So tap that on there. Actually, bring down the size a bit. And that's going to go up there at the top.
I'm intrigued, actually. So everyone tuned in live, I just did a poll. So look where it says polls below this live stream. Let us know if you actually own the Grid Builder already, or if you don't, because we're going to use it quite. Ian uses it in all his lettering layouts, to be honest. But if you're wondering what this amazing tool is that he's using, it is the Grid Builder. It has all of these layout elements that you can build with. Oh, look at this! So, loads of people already have it. Nice.
Oh, brilliant! So I hope this will be really useful for you going through this sort of guide. So next, I create another layer because I'm now going to do the design. For that, I'm going to use one called Bridge. So I'll place that, and then just get my click on the transform tool, which is that arrow at the top, and then I position that because it's got these guides in the center, little marks. I know where to position it to keep it central. And actually, if you find you want to extend the top of a grid, obviously we made them to a set size, but if you want, like my design goes a bit taller than that, you can click and lay that one down, create a new layer, add a block, and that can just extend that grid up a bit. So don't be defined by just the ones given you can combine one or two together and make them a bit bigger. So that's where my design goes. And then I have done this before today, just so I was quicker doing it. So I went through.
Here's one I made earlier.
It is literally one I made earlier. So I just positioned, as I've done with the top ones, just gone through and positioned those grids where I want them.
By the way, awesome to see all the Grid Builder fans on this live stream. Tons of people in the comments just saying how it is the best thing since sliced bread. And, we find it so popular here at Design Cuts because I don't know a single letterer that doesn't benefit from it. So for anyone who is in the no category and doesn't have it yet, check out the green button below this live stream. You can get it super easily. And it is a game changer for your lettering.
I think what it helps me, because I know how to draw letters, but it just saves me time and helps me to get to where I want to go quicker, especially in this next bit. So once I've done that, once I'm happy with the layout, I now can actually hide the sketch. So I'm just left with, because I always have my book next to me, so I'm sort of checking what I'm doing. And then what I do next is I'm going to bring in a bit of a letter builder, which is my other product we've got. So I change over to a blue color, create a new layer. And what I'm going to do is so I'll do one, for instance, and then show you the rest that are already in there. So we're going to start with design. So I know that it's 6 letters because I've already counted up the letters and written them down, so I've got them for reference. And I know that it's 6 letters, so I'm going to draw 6 grids. And I can tell roughly that they're going to be needing the condensed one because it's not a particularly wide space. So I click on condensed, and then I draw a line of 6. Is that 6? 1, 2, 6. I didn't make it bigger so you can see it.
So for anyone wondering what this tool is, this is the letter builder, which is the perfect complement to use with the grid builder. And Ian's going to demonstrate how to use it to make amazing letters in just a second. But if our team could link that up in the comments for anyone not familiar, that also is just a game changer for your digital lettering.
Definitely. So you can either just put one grid down. It was it. So each of these grids, let me turn off these. So each of these grids makes up every letter of the alphabet. There's a guide that comes with the download as well. But what it does for me is help me to quickly get out a simple sans serif style. Then I can add on top of it all the sort of fanciness, change it to serif, maybe change the weight, maybe give it an inline, a bevel, a 3D, whatever I want. What it does is go through the process of creating letters quicker, so I have more time to spend, to use a made-up word, fancyifying it. So
that should be a word.
It should be a word. So, but you can either just tap once, or if you draw a line. So I'm going to draw a line of 6, and keeping my pen held on the screen, and then holding my finger down, I can create a line which I can expand or contract and adjust the spacing, which really helps. So I bring it in a bit. The problem with Procreate is they have a thing called quick shape. If you draw only 3 letters, then it will turn into a triangle.
Right.
Let me just, because that's just something people go, oh, is it? But that's the thing, is that you need quick shape on to draw the line, but it might turn it into a triangle. So what happens if I draw 3 letters? So 1, 2, 3. It goes into a triangle created. So it goes all a bit funky. So what you can do is go edit shape at the top here and click line, and then you're free to move it next to each other.
Smart.
So there you go, quick tip for you. Okay, back to, so we've got our grids there, we've got our word design, so we've got 6 letters. Then we just position it into this is where letter builder fits into the grids, but you have to do a little bit of tweaking to do that. I wish it could be automatic, because that would save even more time, but
maybe next product.
Yeah. So I roughly get it to the size I need it to, like in terms of a rectangle, and then going to the bottom, I click warp and then advanced mesh, which are these 2 ones here. So the far right tab and then the far left option at the bottom, and that gives me lots of points. It gives me 16 points, and then I can just tweak those to fit it to that curve there. So just make sure they're all even, and I just keep tweaking until I'm happy. And it might be the case I don't want it all the way out there, exactly matching curve, but today I will. And then once you've done that, just click on the arrow at the top, and then you're left with the grid in that shape. There we go. So
amazing.
So, and the same thing happens with all the rest of them. If they've got, so I turn that off. So here are ones I've made earlier. So I've done one for cuts, I've done one for community, done one for rocks at the bottom there. So that is my layout. The composition has been made. I still might tweak it, but it'll only be small tweaks by now, because I'm quite happy with how that layout looks. Now I can focus all my attention on how the letters look. So what I do first is create a new layer, get a white color. Today I'm going to be using my chalk dust brushes. So gives you, they're all from sourced from genuine chalk that I made in my studio.
Love this
But
pack as well.
I use one called Sketchy, which is just what I use to get the rough letters down. So what I'm going to do is normally I would flatten. I'll do that now. I would flatten this image of the layout because I'm happy with how everything is, and then I can reduce that opacity so it's just in the background. And the same with the letter builders, flatten, and then I just reduce the opacity so I can see it, but it's hidden a little bit, so it's easier for me to go over it. So
Jackie just said, Ian, I bought all your products. I love the chalk brushes. Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you. So I'm just going. I'm literally just making a rough layout, a bit like this one in my. I'm trying to redraw this one down here on the screen.
Love it. You know how you're positioning your notebook and your iPad on this kind of stone surface, Ian? It looks like one of those Instagram stock photos.
Do you know what I mean? I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
I got my
natural Instagrammer. Yeah, get the plant.
Like flowers. Fancy ruler.
That's literally it.
So yeah, this is going to be another rough layout, but it gets all the letters down, because once I've done the letters, so I'm using combination of letter builder and grid builder to get my letters down.
This is something I've noticed with every fantastically talented letterer that we've had on these hangouts. It always starts rough. And it used to really intimidate me, thinking I had to just, pick up an Apple Pencil and do perfect lettering. But it seems to just be, you do a rough layer and then a more refined layer, and it kind of just comes together.
Yeah. Well, layers, the good thing about, this is what was hard when I was just doing it in analog is it's to be tracing paper after tracing paper, redrawing. But with this, I've got an eraser, I've got many, many layers. And so it doesn't matter, the layers are free. So another quick tip. So I do this. This is all on one layer, but I can alter it as well if I need to. So we've got a bit of space going on either side of the eye, because each of the other letters is the same width apart from the eye, because that's quite narrow. So what we can do is just with the selection tool, the S at the top, is just bring them all in a bit. Actually, I might move some of these letters just nearer to it.
Yeah.
Do the G. Okay. Just bring me in a bit.
Oh, look at that live kerning, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Bit of optical kerning for you.
There we go. So happy with that. So I go through just doing this rough layout. So here's another one I made earlier. So that's me just going through that same process. Actually, I hadn't done the eye there, actually.
Oh, no. That's going to really bug you now, isn't it?
I know. But, with everything else, I've roughly put it in the right position. And so once I've done that, I can now, once I'm happy with the spacing,
it's already looking pretty cool, though, I have to say. Made all the more beautiful by the succulents. They're getting some love in the comments.
Good. They're not real, by the way.
Oh, really? Just one of your props.
Yeah, there's such a temperature change in my studio when it gets cold. We tried to have some plants in here, but they all got really suffered and had to go back in the house. So,
oh, no.
I've done this. I'm sort of happy with how it's looking. So what I can do now is turn off Grid Builder and Letter Builder because I've got this in place. And now I can reduce. So there's this theme running where I build, I reduce, go over it. So now I just reduce that down. So it's sort of, grey or whatever colour you're using. And this is going to be the sort of basis to form my my lettering on it. So now I'd create a new layer, and this is where I create a new layer for every piece. So I do a layer for a layer for design, layer for cuts, blah, blah, so that I have more freedom to move stuff around. Because I think actually at the moment it's too big, a bit too prominent, so I'm going to make that a bit smaller. But I also want to give like rocks a shadow and probably design a shadow.
The rocks lettering does feel quite rocky. It's like Spinal Tap or something.
Do you know? So the inspiration for that came from my daughter's learning piano at the moment, and the teacher lent her a keyboard, and on the keyboard it's got a rocks button, and it was like nice. There was this style, and I was like, oh, that worked really well. So yes, so I've started a new layer. I'm going to use my favorite one actually is what Stefan contributed for my brush pack. So it's either Stefan's chalk brush or Stefan's chalk script. Either one of those I use to start because they're quite sharp and I have a bit more control over them. So
nice. Shout out to Stefan.
Yeah, very generous. So actually, I'll do that. Let me do another one. I've done the beginning. I will do. How are we doing on time anyway, by the way?
Yeah, we're good actually, mate. We're about at the halfway point.
Okay. Do you want to answer any questions? Because there's quite a lot of information there before I start.
Yeah, so we do have quite a few questions. I'm going to look at some of the top voted ones. So Scafano asks, how do you pick your font types when creating a composition? I mean, serif, sans serif, regular fonts, bold, thin, etc. How do you think about that when you're doing a composition?
I think probably I try and keep it quite simple, even though it looks like there's lots of different ones. So if if we take this one for an instance, we got a wider sans serif, a narrow sans serif, a regular sans serif, a condensed sans serif, and then we've got like it's sort of a mix between a serif and a sans serif, where I'm starting to add serifs on the bottom of the legs here, whereas that O is it's sort of a mix of the two. So I think what it is that because the more elaborate the font or the lettering style, the more it contends with each other. So what I quite like doing is starting off with maybe just a simple sans serif and like a brush script. Those two work quite well together. If I'm doing like a serif one, actually I kind of sort of I usually keep the whole thing looking that way in mind. So maybe if there's a narrow one, that would have a bit of serif going on it, so sort of a theme running through. Or just combining it with something that's quite simple, because the serif has a bit more going on. So like that's why I've chosen to have Community and Rocks contrasting with this simple narrow sans serif with this sort of like really hard angular serify style we've got here.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just done by eye and judgment as well, I guess, because you're never going to have a word like rocks in a really dainty kind of thin, monoline or something. And
there's there's some great resources. I can't point to, but just about font pairing. There's like a lot of sites on the font pairing. How you go about, and it's usually something simple with something more elaborate, and whether that's and the elaborate normally comes in like the script or the some quirky serif, and the simple stuff is the sans serif, whether that's wide, narrow, stuff like that. So I'm trying to think. Okay, think about like if you were wearing some clothes to like a wedding, I'd wear like, not I've got it, but like if you were wearing like a navy suit, you got your trousers, pants, and a jacket, and then you would maybe brighten up the shirt, and that would be the one bit of interest. But if you had like a whole suit that was bright colour,
really garish,
really garish, you know, obviously make you stand out, but it's quite hard to look at for a long period of time. So
yeah, you know, just keep it classy and get a snazzy little pocket square is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to your lettering,
that's all you need. But also it goes back to that, you know, thing in the notebook about primary, secondary, and filler. Filler, I normally keep as simple as possible because you don't want the word "the" to. Yeah, I might have made it a little bit more in this one, but trying to keep that really simple. These ones, maybe they're bigger, but they're still simple. And then in the primary, you know, Rocks gets all of the quirkiness, because it's right next to this one. I don't want to give it too much, but you know, so it's thinking about what you want people to notice notice first when they look at it, want to read first.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a great tip. Let's say we have got more questions, but I'd say let's keep going with the demo and we'll try and get to as many as we can at the end. Brian and a few others have asked, will this video be available to watch later? Yes, it will. We've got a full learn section at Design Cuts. If you go to designcuts.com, you'll see in the top menu where it says learn, and we've got all of these community hangouts that we have each and every week are nicely organized there, so you can go and watch them to your heart's content, as well as on our YouTube channel.
So I'm just going over the letters because it's going to be on its layer on its own. I'm sort of tweaking as I go, making sure. So tips for your lettering are consistency of weight. So making sure this space here is similar throughout all the letters, so that, you know, the width going through is similar on all those. Obviously the R is a little bit bigger than the rest, but making sure that the style is similar through all the letters. These are all upright, so that's all good. So, you know, I'm doing this quite quickly, but for this one, I think I'm going to go for having, you know, there's all with letters. You have to think about, like, going back to the clothing analogy, is that think about a mannequin, just a plain mannequin, got nothing on. You know, that's the starting of your letter. You know, the outline, rough thing, and then maybe you put onto that. You know, you put on that a shirt, and the shirt can be, you know, maybe you want some serifs, you know, at the top, and then some shoes, so they could be the serifs at the bottom. Or you might want a tie, so you put, you know, a line down your letter. You know, it's just adding elements to it to sort of bring it up. So, but for this one, I'm going to go for like a gradient going up. So I've got this one called Stipple Shader, and I'm going to just sort of start off heavy, and then it sort of fades off.
Nice. By the way, if anyone's interested in grabbing these amazing chalk brushes, our team can pop them into the chat now, but they are by far the most realistic chalk brushes that I've seen anywhere. You can tell they really come from real chalk. Oh, that's so satisfying to watch.
Oh, no. It's just quick and easy, isn't it? So, you know, they just transforms it straight away. And now what I want to do is actually, I'm going to make it 3D. So what I'm going to do is duplicate that layer, and then I'm going to reduce it either side and bring it down to the depth I want it, and then reduce the opacity of that right down. So I just got a line to where I can work to. Create a new layer. So this is why, you know, creating layers, having many layers is a great thing to do. And then what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to use the eraser as a brush, because it gives a good, I can get some good sort of shading going on here. So what I'm going to do is just fill out the bottom of these letters.
Alyssa just said those brushes look sweet. They are sweet. They're a lot of fun.
So you probably can't see the contrast. I'm trying to, differentiate it, but the camera can't pick it up. So, but yeah,
no, it looks great here, honestly.
So just having that bit in the background means I can just have something to work to in terms of where I should put the shading in. So, I would spend a lot more time than that on it, trying to perfect it, go into it, make sure it's all looking really cool. But the same goes for like, so here's the one I did earlier of
amazing
of there, and then I would build it up and have, I've gone to design. I've done a similar thing to what I've done with rocks, but the type treatment is just quite simple in terms of that, so it doesn't
amazing.
Detract.
Ian, we've got Karen in the chat asking, can the chalk brushes be used with Adobe Illustrator? I believe you do have an Illustrator compatible version, don't you?
No.
Or is it just Photoshop and Procreate?
It's Photoshop, Procreate, and Affinity Designer.
But no AI just yet.
No, because that's something I need to learn how to do, I think.
Yeah.
Because like in Infinity Designer, because you can get pixel brushes, that's why they're in there, because I was able to convert them. Yeah. Whereas, ideally it'd be great to have it both in Illustrator and Affinity Designer, the vector version.
Yeah.
But that's something I need to learn how to do, I think. So I've done late on there, and then cuts, I've just filled those in, added little arrows there, and then added a sort of simple shadow to it. It just gives this stuff a bit more depth. And then, community, I've just kept quite simple. So I just, filled in those. I just traced over the letters I'd already done roughly, and then just started to use the eraser just to smarten them up a bit to make sure they're all looking consistent. You see the sort of weight, it's the same across the same. And then also, because of letter builder, you haven't got that problem like you said, Tom, of you have as you've gone COMMU, it's all gone really tight over here.
Yeah, I'm squishing it in. Yeah. Ian, with cleaning up the letters and making them more refined, do you zoom in normally? Do you zoom in quite close to arrays and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so let me do cuts, because that's quite a small word. So I start drawing, I go around the outline like that. I'm not really perfect, might fill it in. And then I just make sure, like, because it might be the case that I go off a bit and I'm like, oh, hang on a minute, let's, just make sure those edges aligned, because I'm using the chalk brushes, the edges aren't as, some of the brushes, the edges have got a bit of texture to them. So sometimes that might work for certain letters, and you might want to actually clean them up if they're smaller to make them more clearer. But yeah, I go round. I don't worry too much because I know I can tidy it up. So just quickly filling it in.
We've got a few chalkboard artists in the chat, by the way, Ian. So definitely loving the chalk brushes.
I do much more on here than I do on my chalk wall. So
well, you still need to come to our offices. Ian's kindly offered he's going to do us a giant wall mural at Design Cuts headquarters. We might even buy you lunch, Ian.
Oh, sorry, kind of you.
I know you like.
You might go out of business. I do eat quite a lot.
I've seen it firsthand. It's impressive.
Not as much as some other designers we went out for a meal with.
I know.
Put me to shame. So yeah, I'll do that, and then I just make sure, especially with like a letter S, because you just want to make sure it's not looking like it's going to fall over. So you might need to refine the sides and stuff like that. The teeth looking a bit fat, so let's give
but
it.
The fact is, you've done that in like a minute or two, so obviously you can
so that
go and really refine for much longer.
So it's just looking and saying, okay, is that area there in the C matching the U? Is it matching the U, matching the C, matching the S? And just making sure that it all weighs. It's not like one weight, because if there's more weight, it's just like a ship, and it might look like it's tipping or look out of place. So that's that. And then let me get rid of that sketch. And then we've got rocks at the bottom there, and I've added a mask to the community thing, so it gives this sort of shadow at the background.
Nice.
So it looks like it's coming out. And something I'm trying to get more into, because is adding a bit more illustration around my lettering for interest. So like, I don't know if you can see it. There's like I've got this like chalk sprinkler, it's called, and I've just put that around the edges and then erased around it, so there's like a darker area. So it's a technique used in chalk lettering to help things stand out. So you sort of make it slightly like a rough bit of like white going around, so then it makes it stand out. And then adding some sort of dots. This is supposed to represent like community members.
Oh, that's all of you guys watching live.
Yeah, your little dots in the sky. And then just some like sort of starbursty style bits. And then I was like, oh, maybe I can do like a little illustration of like sort of rock on.
Cool.
So I saw this sort of like more cartoony thing on Pinterest, and I was like, oh, what about that with a pencil going through? The sort of rock on designers, DC pencil there.
That's so awesome. I love the details. Mate, are you okay to send this to us? Do you mind if we use it?
Yeah, sure. Love you.
Okay. So for some of the Design Cuts team who are watching this right now, please this needs to go everywhere, because I love this piece so much. We obviously love our community. And so this needs to be like on our about page, even, I would say.
Why don't you have this as your mural in your thing?
That would be pretty cool, actually. Now you mention it, we could blow that up on the wall. Now you're talking.
So you have to pass with the team, but I know it's been really quick. So maybe we could spend like this sort of another like 8 or so minutes answering some more questions, because I'm sure there's like bits and bobs I've been through that have maybe gone a bit too quick for people.
That was amazing, though. I know it's just me, but in the comments, let's give it up for Ian for that demonstration, because damn, every single time I'm blown away. Very, very talented. Let's minimize this then, and we will bring you back in the room. God, looks even more beautiful, kind of, where it's nice and small with the succulents around it.
Yeah, all trendy.
Amazing. So just before we jump into addressing as many questions as we can, again, if you do not have the grid builder, click through the shiny green button below this live stream. And if you do have the grid builder, click through anyway and check out Ian's whole shop here at Design Cuts, because he's got all kinds of amazing packs. He's got the letter builder, he's got the chalk brushes, and tons more incredible products. And of course, being Design Cuts, you can maybe even scoop up a few and get an incredible discount on your order. So definitely worth exploring. Let's jump into the questions though, Ian. So we have Scafano's actually got some great questions leading on from his previous one. So any hints for better glyphs and swashes, he says?
So I suppose use it, well, if you're doing a lettering piece and you want to add some sort of like swashes, flourishes, stuff like that, it's a case of making sure that it works with the rest of the type. So it might be some space, because it might be the fact that when I was doing community, I could have done it script, and then the Y filled a space above rock. Rock could have left a gap, and that could have filled in that area. I think with swashes and stuff, don't force it too much. Simple is always better.
Yeah.
And if you're looking, a lot of the time it's the letters like H or Y or stuff that can loop out. And think ovals really help. So making sure that they follow an oval shape, but also that maybe they could interact with the other type. So, but just making sure that it keeps it looks part of the lettering, like it looks part of the rest of the word that you're trying to add that swash or flourish to. So
amazing. So Scafano also asks, how do you know what shape grids to combine to get better compositions? Because there's quite a few in the grid builder. How do you know which ones to put together?
So I think for me, it's normally ones I like. I think I just resonate to. Like if I'm doing a 3D piece, then there's one in there called like Coffin, which is like starts small and then goes big in the middle. And I use that quite a lot if I want to do some sort of 3D type. So it depends on the sort of style of lettering you're looking at. So
yeah, I guess some are maybe more playful, some are a bit more traditional, formal.
And that's why in the process you start off with the just plain rectangles, because you can think, okay, I've got a bit of space down here, so like with the rocks, I brought that down a bit. I brought that down a bit here, down there. And it's just trying out, maybe have them there sitting there on your iPad, looking through them and think, oh, how could I fit that in there? It might be the case that, because I use that sort of more pill-like one in the middle there, just to fill the gaps between the two bigger words. So I think, once you get the structure down with the rectangles, try out the different shapes and see which ones may work together and might look good with the type. One thing I forgot to mention is that to make sure there's like a little bit of gap between each word, unless you're adding like a shadow behind it and it's overlapping. Never have it just touching, because that creates this sort of awkward relationship with the words. So make sure you leave. So like in this one, the community rocks, that's overlapping, so that's fine because there's a gap. But there's a gap between cuts and community. There's a gap between design and cuts as well, even though there's a shadow there. And with the banner, that's overlapping, so that's fine because it's it's when they're just touching, it can make it look slightly awkward. So that's another.
Love it. Well, I can see Scafano in the chat, and I think that answered this question really well. So thank you. Matthew asked, "What are your ideal document settings, size, max layers, etc., when working with Procreate?"
So I normally work 3,000 by 4,000 pixels, because it gives me quite 132 layers, and that's on the iPad Pro. So it might be different on a different iPad. Yeah. But like if I'm doing something high res, it'd normally be like 5,000 by 4,000 pixels.
Yeah. Okay.
And I normally, if I'm doing I don't often do much work to be printed from Procreate, because a lot of mine's teaching other people. So, but I usually go through the way of like, I would export my artwork as a black and white file, so I can image trace it in Illustrator and put it together and do that, because some of the things need to be blown up. But I know a lot of people have had some problems with like exporting and the resolutions not being that great. But because I go through a different method, I haven't really come across that. So.
Love it. Thank you. So Julianne asked, what is that? that pinwheel thing in the background. And actually, Julianne, you're the third person today that's asked me about this, because I've been on calls with some other creative folk today, and people are always curious. So that, if you can see, has got our team members' names on it, and we occasionally give it a spin if we, want to decide something like who picks what the team will have for lunch, or who's going to be the DJ in the office that day. So that is what that is, little colourful pinwheel. Roberta says, Ian, are you going to attend Letter West conference this year? With Becca Clarston?
I haven't any plans yet. Okay. The thing is, it's just quite expensive to get out to the US at the moment. So,
Becca, if you're watching this, maybe never say never. Cool. We've got Evan said, what are some tips for an overhead camera rig for lettering process videos? Because this is something you do quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. So I've got, if I can quickly find it, I've got a video all about that actually.
Oh, cool.
On YouTube.
I'll tell you what, let's keep going. If our team could have a quick search on Ian's YouTube and link up that thing about how to do an overhead rig, that would be amazing, please. So we also, Julianne actually says, would you chat with us about color choices? I find that when I do the original art and then I'm asked with different color, the edges become less crisp. Do you start your projects with a color palette in mind that you intend to use? I'm
not a great colorist, if that was the great color. That's
hard, right? Like we're always jealous of Lisa Glange.
Yeah. Nails it all the time. So I normally, if I'm going to do something in color, I've normally decided beforehand. Like I decided this one, I was going to keep it simple and keep it black and white. I prefer black and white because I just know it looks all right. Never looks bad, black and white. Whereas I can, sometimes color combinations can't. But what I do is go on Pinterest and steal other color palettes I see on there, because they all color, you just put color palette and you find one and you go, I'll have that. And I use it in my design. But yeah, it's tricky. And actually one way to start is just doing black, gray, and a color. So like it might be black, gray, and bright orange. That works quite well together. Just highlighting areas and stuff like that. So you got the white, the background.
Wedding outfit, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
black, gray, and bright orange.
Mine was quite traditional, I think. That's because I was quite young and I'd only been in design for about a year. So
the white tuxedo. So we had a lot of people actually in the chat asking about screen covers and screen protectors and Paperlike and that kind of thing. Are you using one right now? Yes, I'm using Paperlike 1. I have got Paperlike 2, which they sent me, but I'm so bad at putting screen. I'm just nervous because Stefan, when I went out to Zurich to meet him, put mine on for me, and obviously he's not around in the UK, so I'm a little bit scared. But it's really good. Really helps with that friction you need, especially coming from paper. It gives that sort of added what do you call it? Pull that you get from paper. And I think even on the newest one, it has a better grip, but also has less of a distortion on the screen. I think part of the problem with number 1 is there was this just only a slight degradation of the screen. Like you could tell we had a screen protector on, whereas the new one is like crystal clear. So love it. It's worth investing in. So I think we've got time for one last question. I'm going to go with Els, and I know you got an answer for this, Ian. Els asks, the letter builder will give a bit of a wonky result with variable letter widths like M and W, which then become really narrow. How do you fix that? So there's a guide, because something we had to decide was there are a handful of letters, W, M, for instance, which we didn't want to try, like one or two of the styles, they can be fitted in the grid,
but the wider letters like the regular and the bold can't, and we didn't want them to squeeze them in and make them look weird. Like keep the structure letter proper. So in the guide, in the PDF guide, it shows you how to draw a letter M by doing half the letter, duplicating it, flipping it, so you get the actual proper width, which is I think like about 1.5 times a normal letter.
Yeah, so, but they're totally right, aren't they? It looks weird to squish it in the same width.
Yeah, so we had to make a decision. So that's why we put the guide in, so that actually to make a like a W, you make a V and then you duplicate it, so you get the proper V to proper W, and the M is like straight up with a line, duplicate that around the other way. So and it's and it's the reason why you have to adjust the spacing, because the letter I, unless you're doing like a slab serif where it's got a horizontal at the bottom of the top, it's not going to fit with the other letters, and you just that's just part of you have to do that in type design. You have to go through and make sure that some letters don't have the same spacing. Like A and V have a completely different spacing from H and D. So you have to. There has to be a slight bit of tweaking enabled, and that's like we saw with the word design. I had to bring in the rest of the letters to take up the space the I wasn't filling up. So.
Perfect, mate. Thank you so much. I want to give a final shout out to Ian's incredible store with us here at Design Cuts. If the team could link that up again in the chat. And also, you've got that shiny green button below this live stream if you have yet to grab Grid Builder. But equally, if you have it, you can click through and explore Ian's other products. It is a treasure trove, mate. You've been pretty prolific over the last few years. So, we're really grateful for being able to share your incredible work with our community.
Well, thank you very much. And, very happy with, being able to help your community, because it's, these brushes help people to either learn lettering or get better at lettering, get quicker at lettering. So it's just great that they've sort of resonated with people so much. I think because me and Stefan, we made them and I'm like, well, this is really helpful. Just if we just had this product for ourselves, it'd be so good. But it worked so well for everyone else. So I did see someone say about where are the PDF guides. In the download folder, there's a folder where it says guides and practice sheets. So you've got like the guides of how to draw each of the different styles in Letter Builder, and also how to like sheets you can print off if you want to do some work off the computer, you can print them off and just I posted a photo actually of my daughter's. She was like, I want to have a go at this. I want to do 16 types of O. So I printed a sheet off for her, and she, like 10 times quicker than me, came up with 16 different types. So, there's lots of. Make sure you check out that there's all the different brushes that it's available for, and that's both Grid Builder and Letter Builder.
Love it.
Variety of brushes. You can use it in any application. So.
Yeah, Lisa just said, found it. Thanks. Amazing. And awesome. Thank you so much for being so active and fantastic today, guys. Just want to say thank you to Arturo, Bianca, Roberta, Scafano, Marcus, Sonia, Roberta, Jay, Mischief, Lisa. You guys have been fantastic. And thank you, everyone else, for tuning in. It's been
thank you so much. It'd be great.
On a final note, actually, Ian, our crazy expanding bundle that you've contributed to. So I was on it earlier and saw your incredible retro piece on there, your retro product that you contributed to it. So if you don't mind, I just want to spend 30 seconds and see who's actually aware of this thing, because we have so many of our community that don't know this exists, but it's got Ian's fantastic products in there as well as many other people. So final poll before we jump off, but have you ever grabbed our free ever expanding bundle? Do you actually know what this is? I can see the first vote is in yes again. If you don't know what this is, we really, really appreciate our community here. And so we put together a bundle of 20 free products from greats like Ian, who've kindly contributed it. And it's our way of saying thank you for being part of the Design Cuts community. So if you haven't got it yet, I'm just going to link it up at the bottom of the screen. If I can multitask well enough. The expanding bundle. And as I say, right at the top of that page, you will see another awesome product from Ian. So definitely go explore that and check out Ian's retro goodness there. But yeah, we hope that you guys love it. And team, feel free to link that up. But literally, it's 23 products, and we add a new one every single month. So if you're part of the community and you've missed out on this somehow, it is in there. It's constantly expanding and growing, and it's the biggest way we could say thank you to all of you for being amazing. There you go. Everyone thinks you're even more generous now, Ian, sharing your time and your amazing products. So
it's all good. All good. I love it. So,
Ian, thank you again for coming on, mate. Everyone,
you're welcome. Anytime, Tom, you know.
We appreciate it. Honestly, you're such a good friend of the whole team here, and yeah, just amazing teacher as well. So we'd love to have you back in the future, and everyone always enjoys your hangouts. Always
happy to come back, do another little masterclassy thing.
We might have to live stream when you come do the walls here.
Oh yeah.
That would be quite fun. Just to
that
hang
would
out.
Be quite cool.
Yeah.
Question time while doing a mural. Yeah,
exactly. Cool. All right, mate. I'll talk to you very soon. Everyone, thank you again for tuning in. You're the absolute best, and have a fantastic rest of your week.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.